This lesson is on line of best fit. Scatterplots are a useful visual representation of the correlation that may or may not exist between two variables. So we use scatterplots to determine if there appears to be a correlation between two different variables. A scatterplot is a graph that relates two sets of data where the x-coordinate is the independent variable and the y-coordinate is the dependent variable. So the correlation, if there's one that exists, the points would be fairly tight grouped together so that it appears to make out a line. So as you can see, there's a linear pattern to the first graph. So there is a linear correlation between the x variable and the y variable. It's pretty strong correlation since the points are tightly grouped together. And whether the correlation is positive or not, it's the same as the slope of the line that appears. So this line is clearly going down from left to right. So it has a negative correlation that corresponds to the negative slope of the line of best fit. For the second graph, there's no line. The points are not grouped together in any type of pattern. They're just all scattered all over the place. So there's no correlation that exists between those two variables. And then for the last graph, they do form a moderate linear pattern. It's not as tight as the first graph, but there does appear to be a linear correlation. And this graph appears to have the line of best fit appears to have a positive slope. So the correlation would be positive. Now, as far as the line of best fit, whenever you're drawing the line of best fit, you just want to draw the line that closely is in the middle of the grouping of points. So that's what the line would look like for this one. So we can see that this line, as we stated previously, has a negative correlation. You should be able to, at the very least, identify that the slope is also negative and that the y-intercept for this line, it looks like it appears to be right around 6. Again, the middle graph has no correlation, so since there is no line of best fit, there is no y-intercept. And then the last graph, if we were to draw a line that is generally through the middle of those grouping of points, it still has a positive slope, so there's a positive correlation. And the y-intercept, if we were going to use integers as the y-intercept, we would choose either 0 or 1. All right, for the graph 1, there's clearly a positive correlation. It's going up from left to right. And the y-intercept appears to be 0. For the second graph, there's clearly a negative correlation. The line is going down from left to right. And the y-intercept for this graph, for this line of best fit, is 9. And then for the last graph, the grouping of points is going up from left to right. So that would denote a positive slope. Therefore, there is a positive correlation that exists. And the y-intercept appears to be right around 0. 0 or 1 would actually work.